Detroit Den 313. We are back. A little lunch date. A little Detroit Den 313 lunch date. Before we get started, let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget the bell icon so you guys don't miss this content. Steve, we're gonna have a debate this afternoon, and we talked a little bit about it off air, and we decided to cut it off because it was kind of getting a little juicy. So let's let the people here hash this out. Topic of the day is Amon-Ra St. Brown a top 10 wide receiver in this NFL? How you feeling, Steve?
Easily top 10. Not even a discussion. Like I can't name 10 receivers that are better than him and put him at number 11. Now, I'll say this: when we're doing this, and whoever we're talking about, we are not talking fantasy football. We are not talking. We're talking the actual game and what they might mean to their team. Everything comes into play. Fantasy football's
Yeah,
off the table.
yeah. I'm glad you said that, man, because I think you're being a little bit of a homer, man, and I think that I'm guilty of it. We talked in the podcast this morning, man, where I mentioned Robert Saleh as one of the potential coaches of the year, and that was a little bit of home cooking on my end. So him being a Michigan man, so I get being a homer. I'm guilty of it when it comes to these Lions, man. But I'm just not for sure. I'm not gonna say he's not, but I just don't think it's the definitive for sure. And the way people talk about him that are Detroit Lions fans, like ourselves, some of these people even have him ranked in top five, or see he could
Mhm.
be. I just don't see it.
I'm a
Top
man with
10,
boundaries. I can't go top
yeah,
five.
yeah, top 10, man. I'm not saying that he's not top 10. I think he's definitely done more than enough to be in a conversation. But I just think that just making it definitive, like there's no world where he couldn't be outside of that top 10, is kind of crazy to me.
So here's my reasoning for taking fantasy football off the table. Because if you want to go by fantasy football right now, today, Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, if you want to go by fantasy football, Justin Jefferson's not a top 10 wide receiver. So we all know that that's not true. So we're cutting it out. Justin Jefferson's number one. Everyone else is in a conversation for number two through 10. I can't name to 8, 9 people better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he means to the team. I've talked about it before. Last year against New England, when he missed the game, didn't play, this team was lost. They were completely one dimensional. And I know that was last year. We're a different team now. But I think that just goes to show what he means to this team. He's a PPR, or he's just a guy who can catch a ball on 3rd and 5. I'm going to St. Brown or Laporta. Last year, it was just St. Brown. Now he's got a little security blanket, Goff, that is, with Sam Laporta. But he was the guy last year. He's still the guy now that you can depend on when you need that first down. And he could block too for only being 6 foot, 200 pounds. He could throw his weight around and move some people.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. The only thing
Never
that I
am.
would say, the only thing that I would say is, when we talk about what he means to the team, man, I think a lot of that depends on what team you're on. Because if I put T. Higgins on a different team, I think he's going to mean way more than he does to the Cincinnati Bengals with Jamar Chase. So, I mean, I'm just talking about just raw skills, just raw being a dude. If we were going to have a draft, where would I draft? Would there be 10 receivers potentially that could go ahead of him? And since we were talking about it, I wrote down a list of guys that I can't definitively say, oh yeah, it's not even close. So obviously the top of this list is going to be guys that you guys understand, and maybe you'll fight me on the back end. We'll see. But I'm looking at Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, and AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, CD Lamb. Those are guys that are like, those are dogs, man. Those are dogs. So going to the back half of this list, that's the guys that I feel like we're starting to talk about. I don't know. And that is Debo Samuel, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, and then a very old D Hop. And there's some others that I think that you can name, but those are the guys that I feel like, to me, that St. Brown is in the conversation of being better than. But what is Amon-Ra St. Brown? He's a guy that just gets it done to me. He's not a guy that I feel like commands a double team. You're not seeing them put safeties over top of him. You're not seeing guys float to him every single play. He's not getting shadowed by Sauce Gardners. He's, you know what I mean? Like, Amon-Ra's a guy who finds the holes in defenses. He beats man-to-man coverage underneath, but he's not taking the roof off and taking over games to where he's 3-4 touchdowns, and he had an 80-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown. That, so to me, it's tough for me to put him in that category of being a top 10 guy definitively when I don't feel like he dominates and takes over football games.
Like I said, I don't need him to do all that. I need him to pick up first downs. I need him to be who he is. When you talk about a receiver who has the best hands in the NFL, I would say it's probably Justin Jefferson and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown's hands are that good. He catches, and I'm not going to say he's never dropped a pass. It happens. But I've seen him make some very, very difficult catches to pick up big third downs. I trust him in the NFL more than I trust a lot of other receivers, and maybe I am being a homer. But I know if I need a 5-yard first down to keep my drive going, I'm going to number 14.
Steve.
William.
We're not going to talk about the NFL and hands.
Best hands in the league.
And Odell Beckham is still playing.
Who?
Odell Beckham.
Buddy, I have almost as many touchdowns this year as Odell Beckham.
Listen, guys, before you start nailing me to the cross, I'm not saying that Odell Beckham is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, but if we're talking about hands, that dude's hands are something special.
Yeah, like, and at one point, Odell Beckham was a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And his hands are still good.
He's just 55 years old now.
He's 55 years old, but his hands are still nasty, man. Like we start talking about best hands. I'm just talking about purely catching the football. I'm not talking about getting open or whatever. I do believe Amon-Ra St. Brown is a way better receiver at this point of their careers. But if we're just talking about hands, I gotta mention my dude Odell Beckham.
Fuck Odell Beckham.
But that's the debate, fellas.
Oh, I mean, if you want to hang on, if you want to talk Odell Beckham and wide receivers, that dude's been a cancer on every single team he's gone to.
Has he been a
Cleveland Browns? He single-handedly got Baker Mayfield traded.
No, I was just gonna say, has he been a cancer on the Baltimore Ravens? I truly don't know the answer. I haven't been following it.
I would say he's had a good stint with the Ravens so far. Small sample size, only 9 games.
Yeah,
but
true.
When he was with the Giants, distraction. When he was with the Browns, distraction. Wasn't really in LA long enough. Got his ring, tore his ACL, missed all of last year. Small sample size with the Ravens, but the Giants and the Browns, he was absolutely a distraction. When I talk about St. Brown, I don't have to worry about him going into the media and bashing his teammates and throwing people under the bus and kicking a field goal net when he doesn't get a ball. Like, I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff with him. That's another, one of those intangibles that we don't really talk about with who makes a great wide receiver. Because that's why Kelvin was so great as well. Kelvin would go out there and do exactly what you said, get 300 receiving yards and say, man, my O-line blocked great. I could have got 400. He wouldn't say I could have got 400 receiving yards if I got the ball here. That's what a lot of receivers will do.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. I definitely think that Amon-Ra is a great receiver. I definitely want to keep him here for the duration of his career. I'm so glad that we have him. This is just us spitballing, man. Him being a top 10. And I'm just not for sure, man. Like, and don't get me wrong. He's probably a top 10. If he's not 10, he's 11, 12. He's right there. And when we talk about winning football games, I don't think it necessarily matters. He has a role in this team, and he plays his role phenomenally. But I just don't know if I'm drafting a number 1 receiver, because when I'm talking about number 10, I'm talking about dogs. I'm talking about dudes that create double teams. I'm talking about dudes that are flat out problems. I'm talking about dudes if they're getting double teamed, they'll still get open. Because when we talk about guys like, the top half of that list, you have to account for them on every single play or they might hit a home run.
Yeah, just real quick, T. Higgins, you mentioned his name a little bit ago. I think if you take T. Higgins off the Bengals are just fine without him. But if you put him on a team that needs a receiver, like, God, dare I say the Chicago Bears, and they had a better quarterback, maybe a bad example. But if you put T. Higgins on a team where he's the number 1 guy, I could see him being a top 10 wide receiver. But right now in the NFL with Jamar Chase and they have Boyd and Joe Burrow, if you took T. Higgins off that team, I don't think it really hurts them as much as if we lost Amon-Ra St. Brown, just to compare them to.
I'm going to tell you this, man. If you put T. Higgins on the Houston Texans, and no disrespect to our Michigan man.
That's a better example.
Yeah, Nico Collins. No disrespect to Nico Collins, Michigan man. Love you, man. You're doing your thing out there, and you're showing the world that you can play some football, which we said early when they got him. But if you put T. Higgins on that Houston Texans team, wow.
He would probably be a top 10 wide receiver.
100%, man. So I think that's kind of, and I didn't even put him down in the conversation because that's not his situation right now. But when we're talking about these guys, I got, man, a guy that's 6'4", can runs, got moves, can hit a home run. Like those are special guys, man. So I don't know, guys. Put it in the comments how you feel. Do you think that Amon-Ra's a top 10 receiver? Are there some receivers that we didn't talk about that should be on the list? And is Will just crazy?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's other receivers. I mean, we could talk, you said Keenan Allen, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson. He'd be another one if he had a better quarterback. We just talked about him a little bit this morning. If he had a better quarterback, he might be a top 10 receiver this year. AJ Brown, like there's some guys out there, but I just think Amon-Ra fits in that conversation with them. Like he's quietly having a phenomenal year. I mean, he's got 57 catches, 665 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he's going to end the year with over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards, hopefully like 6, 7, maybe 8 touchdowns if he, gets a game where he has 2 maybe. But he's on track to have over 1,000 and over 100 receiving yards or over 100 receptions.
You're not wrong.
He's right there. I'm like I said, well, I'm never wrong. It's all factual statements that I make.
That's debatable.
That's it for today, guys. We wanted to talk a little St. Brown. Someone we don't really talk about a lot is probably him in golf because they just go out and do their jobs. You know what to expect from them. You know what they're going to do. Leave a comment, like Will said, down below. Let us know where you would rank him in the top 10, who you would put ahead of him, below him, who you think he kind of compares to well in the NFL. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Help us grow this thing. Much appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow with some more content.
Peace.